fossils to the future, and hopefully not to fossils again. My name's Xing. I'm the co-founder of Transhumanism Australia. As you heard from Dr. Avinash earlier, we're a community of technologists, and he was one of our original members from about 8 years ago. We literally started in a pub as a meetup group as well. For me, I've been working in emerging technologies for the last 15 years across Deloitte, KPMG. Don't hold that against me. I'm part of the faculty at Xing University, actually researching about how do we use science and technology, and as humanity goes through this wave of science and technology advancements, what's that going to mean for the future of humanity, and what's that mean for us as a species? So today I'm going to be talking to you about our transhuman future. So we actually advise, we educate, accelerate, and invest in startups. So we're kind of an incubator with an investment ecosystem. We're based in Stone and Chalk and have regular events. So we'll have another one tomorrow. You're free to come along. It's in that Wynyard building next to Starbucks. And we talk about all sorts of emerging tech. One of our startups is actually here. And his name is Oliver. He's running an AI startup around all sorts of various industries, including employee contracts. But basically, it's how do we use science and technology to transcend the limitations of our human biology, and now actually how we invest and accelerate this research. So we look at these three core pillars. As a movement, it's been around since the 70s. You know, after the moon landing, people thought we could do anything, travel the universe, extend our healthy human lifespans, which is about super longevity. We can enhance our intelligence with super intelligence with AI, and as you've seen from Dr. Avinash, with brain-computer interfaces. And also we can improve our well-being, because it doesn't help just to live long and smart when you're not well on the inside. So how do we actually use science and technology to fulfill our Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so that we continue to feel we have purpose in life and drive and fill in any of those gaps in Maslow. So just a bit of an activity. When we talk about transhumanism, a lot of people get confused around the LGBT community. We're all for that. We're not like the trans persons, we're the transhumans. But if you think about transhumanism, it's kind of like the superheroes, the Marvel, the DC. But if you have a superpower in mind, if you put your hand up, what would it be? Well, if you had a superpower, any superpower. Anyone?
Flying.
Flying? Yeah, it'd be like Superman, flying out. That's right. Anyone?
Super speed.
Super speed, the Flash. Anyone else? My favorite, Wolverine, he gets shot and it just regenerates. And the other one is Iron Man, he's just rich, you know, he uses science and technology, just like Batman does. But basically this is what the technology that Dr. Avinash was talking about can do now, but this is the invasive kind. Let me see if I can pull up the audio.
A paralyzed man will walk again for the first time in more than a decade, thanks in part to the power of his own thoughts. Pertian Oscar was in a motorcycle crash in 2011.
12 years ago, I got an accident and had a spinal cord injury, so I'm not able to move my legs anymore.
A year ago, scientists in Switzerland placing electronic implants in areas of his brain and spinal cord that control movement. Then, using artificial intelligence, researchers building what they call a digital bridge, establishing a wireless connection between Oscar's brain and spinal cord to stimulate movement, bypassing the injured areas of his body, essentially putting his thoughts into action.
I could control my lips, the brain implant picked up what I was doing with my hips.
The 40-year-old has been able to stand, walk, and even climb stairs with the help of those implants. And even when the implants are turned off, Oscar can walk with the help of crutches. The researchers saying he developed new nerve connections.
We can give back hope to the people with a spinal injury, and they would be able to walk again thanks to this digital bridge.
Science and technology is making people walk again. You know, this is like miracles happening right now. If you look at our human body, how fragile it is, there's all sorts of implants we already put in there. I mean, hands up if you've got an implant, like a dental implant, shoulder implant, or if you know someone that's had an implant, like a knee implant, cochlear implants, yes. So, the most advanced ones are in the heart valves, right? So we've got pacemakers, coronary stents, especially everywhere in the body. So that's already happening. That's like standard medical procedures. But we're also augmenting that with the latest in electronics, right? We've got the AirPods, the smartwatches, the Apple Watches, and what you're seeing now is the pervasive nature of technology. All these sensors are all around us. VR and AI headsets, as they evolve, as they become more mainstream, you'll have AR glasses, just giving you superpowers as you augment your reality. And finally, of course, brain-computer interfaces, which is in that sort of top right there with the neural links. So for me, I got into this because I was, climbing up the corporate ladder, being a good, good analyst on the corporate job. I was celebrating some promotions along the way, and I was in KL, Malaysia. Just right across the road from our hotel, and this Asian heritage road. And as I was coming back to the hotel in the middle of the night, I just felt a huge thud against my head. And I woke up, I was in hospital. There was just tubes sticking out all over my body. I'm like, what the hell happened? And apparently my friend had called the ambulance because someone had smacked me over their head to rob me of all my things and all my belongings. And I was actually minutes away from death because I was about to bleed out from the cuts of macerations that I'd done. And from then on, I was just like, holy crap. Even if I was 80 years old and was healthy, I would not be ready to just depart, right? And this is something that I really looked into, the fragility of the human body, our lives, how valuable it is, but also how science and technology can actually look at treating this process that we have right now, which is, everyone expected to die, say like 80 years old, right? So this is the longevity side. We sort of accept that as the narrative of life. You're just born, you grow up, you might have some kids or find a partner, have some fur babies, but then you're meant to just grow old and pass away. And that's what society accepts today. But for me, I was like, even if I was that person at the end, I would not be ready. I wanted the option, at least, to have another healthy day if science and technology was available. And that's where science is right now. We are at a time where the information theory of aging, among other things, is actually looking at the very process of aging itself. Because there are 300,000 people that are dying every single day around the world. But we say that like about 2/3 of them is due to the aging process, and we just accept that. But this information theory of aging around potential looks at what happens in our youth. We have DNA damage, we have genome instability, we have epigenome disruption, which is how our genes are expressed. We lose our sense of cellular identity, like our cells are literally having identity crises as we get older. And there's cellular senescence, which is, this concept of a zombie cell that are in our bodies and are affecting the cells around it, which causes the aging process as well. And that brings about disease in our organs, in our skin, every single part of our body, and eventually that leads to death, organ failure. And so this new science of actually looking at the hallmarks of aging, one of them being that information theory, other parts around looking at the telomere attrition, if you look at things around our loss of rhodesias, deregulated nutrient sensing, mitochondrial dysfunction, there's a whole raft of research that's happening right now that's looking to actually treat the aging process itself, which is the root cause of disease and how we age and die. And so Dr. David Sinclair, seen from the UNSW and also at Harvard, he's written the book Lifespan, which has popularized this concept a lot. There are many others as well like him out there, Dr. David Stanfield, among others. There's also Brian Johnson, you might have heard, he'll come up. But they're doing research right now on mice that actually show an increase the healthy longevity of mice by 30%. If you translate that to humans, that might be an amazing 20 plus years, right? And healthy years as well. And so that's something worth fighting for today. There's also this concept of longevity escape velocity. So this is the Longevity Escape Velocity Foundation, run by Dr. Aubrey de Grey. He kind of looks like Gandalf the Grey, like with the beard and everything, but I'm sure he's legit. But the concept of longevity escape velocity is that for every day that passes, you might get a day back in healthy longevity research as science progresses. Because as you heard from today, this concept of linear versus exponential, technology is an exponential by information theory itself. So if we have an accelerating rate of progress in science and tech, and that gives us new discoveries to give you an extra day back, we could be among the generation that's actually in this longevity escape velocity today. But it depends how fast we accelerate that, and whether we put enough resources, enough mind share to it. And so this is why I'm supporting longevity with the likes of LAB Foundation. This is Brian Johnson. He is rich, like you can tell from like taking photos like this on the news outlets. So he runs a concept called Zero, but he actually got rich from selling Baintree to PayPal and Venmo. So he's made a lot of money doing that, but he also did brain-computer interfaces with his kernel brain-computer interface. But these days he's more popular actually doing this whole longevity regimen. He's spending $2 million a year and then open sourcing that technology for everyone else to follow. But it's about 110 pills a day, so it's a little bit extreme. We're trying to come up with a lighter version of this. And that's his son next to him. He's actually exchanging blood with his son, so that's really extreme, right? So he's doing the blood boy with his own boy. This is what's happening today with billionaires. But hopefully we can get to the point where we make this cheap and accessible, and so that we don't have to go through these extremities and just have a pill that actually looks at the same benefits that Ryan Johnson's getting with his expenditures. This is Loyal, a company that's actually looking at longevity for dogs. Did you know that large dogs like the Great Dane only have a life expectancy of 6 years? 6 years? That's insane. You think, you usually times by 7 in dog years, but for Great Danes, it's like you got to times by 14 or something. So the large dogs that they're currently doing is actually the research in those large dogs for longevity. This particular new discovery called the Yamanaka factors. This is actually research that Atlas Labs is doing, like Jeff Bezos is funding. But I think there's actually a better way to do it by doing it on dogs. And if anyone had an extra healthy year for their dogs, they would do it. There's a great market for it. So Loyal is actually treating that. If you have a large dog, please do reach out. They'll be coming to Australia soon as well. They're doing the trials at the moment in the US. But if these dogs can live longer than we can, that would be an interesting way to go about it. This is another company called Prenuvo. They're doing whole body MRIs. So MRIs right now is super expensive. If you only really need to get that when you have something that's serious and get it done in prescription. But imagine if you're able to do this for $2,500 and covered by, say, the likes of the health insurance, and you get some rebate from Medicare as well. But that is able to identify a whole raft of conditions before they become crises. So this is actually looking at conditions like aneurysms and cysts and cancers, and it's all done in less than 60 minutes. So this is the technology that's available now to preempt and predict those potential issues before they actually occur. And of course, along the way, we'll have replacement organs. The challenge is that there's a shortage of organ donors, so they're actually genetically engineering pigs to do transplants, and so that the pigs are compatible with humans, and you'll be walking around with a pig kidney or a pig liver, right? So this is very sad for animals that are currently doing it, but it's better than losing a loved one as well. There is also 3D printed organs, so if you don't want to harm animals, eventually we'll be able to 3D print these along the way to replace those organs, and we won't need donor hearts. CRISPR, right, gene editing, so you think about what we are, the very book of life that makes us us. The genome is actually have been fully sequenced, and they've got to the price point about $200 per whole genome now. And it's probably racing towards 100, and that sort of decreasing cost curve that's happening right now. But if we're able to edit the genome, that's actually, and also how they express and understand how those genes are expressed, it's going to give us the ability to change the very nature of what makes us humans, because we can do that at the embryo level through IVF screening. One of the companies we're looking at investing is actually called the 23 strands, because you have 23 strands of DNA. The company is focusing on fertility because you're already doing screening of genetic disorders, and they've basically done a pre-screening process, a consultation, applying that and calling them counselors, so they're getting embedded into the GPs and the actual IVF counselors, doing the blood extractions, the DNA extractions, the sequencing, the clinical reports. So all that end-to-end is actually now able to be available to anyone that actually wants to make sure their IVF achieves the most optimal outcome. And this will be available not just to IVF patients, but to all patients that eventually want to opt into this as well. We're also using AI for drug discovery. So this is in silico medicine based in Hong Kong, Dubai. He's one of the Transhumanist members. He's is using the same technology behind DeepMind's AlphaFold, so this is the protein folding project, to apply that to discovering new drugs for clinical trials. And it's accelerating that by hundreds of times faster than you would normally, because it's able to go through all those permutations. Of course, quantum computers would help with that process as well. But he's doing this right now using generative AI. So the LLMs that you're seeing in ChatGPT and all that stuff, he's applying for this technology. And sooner or later, we might have to deal with this whole China baby thing. So there's CRISPR babies that's walking around right now in China. They're twins, they can't be named, but they also can't have children because in them, they've actually gene edited out the CCR5 gene, which mitigates the risk of HIV, but actually increases potentially their intelligence, which is why I think the parents opted into this trial. But the person, Dr. He, who did this, is, he's in trouble right now. He, pretty much obliterated every ethics board there is. But basically, there's people walking on this earth right now that have CRISPR genes out there. Of course, the billionaire's getting into this. The owner of ChatGPT, OpenAI, Sam Altman. So he doesn't have equity, but he founded it. He's got all the control. He started a company called Retro Biosciences, and his mission is actually to add 10 years to healthy human lifespan using the cellular reprogramming. So this technology applying in the sense of the clinical trials right now. So yeah, that's a bit of a super longevity. On super intelligence, we all heard about ChatGPT. This is the technology coming out of Google and DeepMind called MedPalm-M. So you think OpenAI and DeepMind and all those ChatGPT solutions are good, and Llama is good. This is ingesting every single data set on your clinical information, whether it's the whole genome, your blood, your MRIs, your X-ray scans, all of that, your medical history, and giving you a single report and telling you exactly what to preempt. And so all that body of knowledge through PubMed that it's ingested to actually deliver on those, this is the technology that will be like the GPT for every medical practitioner. So the doctors will actually have time to read up on all the papers that are coming out, thousands every day, and actually give you the best clinical advice. And eventually be self-service too. There's also AI papers out now that it's actually training themselves. So you think, ChatGPT's technology is about reinforcement learning with human feedback. There's a whole bunch of people that are validating these outputs, saying that this is what we want to see. Well, that won't survive for long as a career because RLAIF, or AI feedback from reinforcement learning, is out, and it's actually getting pretty good results on par with humans. So at what point are humans, that last feedback in the loop, right? Are we that's the final career for humanity, to do a whole bunch of CAPTCHA type of validations? I am not a robot. Is that our last job on this earth? This is a saying that we're probably heading towards that pretty soon. This is a video that was completely AI generated.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a race against the Nazis.
Barbenheimer.
And I know what it means if the Nazis have the bomb.
She's a scientist. I hear she's the best.
Good.
She's also a doctor.
Excellent.
She's also a flight attendant, astronaut, Marine Corps medic, paleontologist, veterinarian, 3-time Olympic gold medalist.
I see the bright pink glow of a new era. We imagine the future. And our imaginings look fabulous.
Party, together we're gonna beat those Nazis. And we're gonna look so good doing it.
Hey, Barbie, can I come to your secret laboratory later?
Sure, I don't have any plans. Just giving humanity the means to destroy itself.
Barbie, this candy we've been making is delicious. It gives my skin such a healthy glow.
Ken, that's what guys doing at 2:35. You're probably gonna die in like 12 minutes.
So you're telling me when I push this button, there's a chance we might destroy the entire world?
Yeah, but only like 60%. Hit it, Ken. Starring me as Barbie, Ryan Gosling as Ken, Matt Damon as Lieutenant General Wesley Rhodes, Will Ferrell as the President, and Kill. How do you say that?
Okay, maybe they added a few jokes in there.
And now has come Death, destroyer of worlds.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yes. Okay, so Oppenheimer. Okay, the majority of that was AI generated. Obviously, they got to do some cuts, but it just goes to show that human creativity was what made us, we thought, unique. But those types of activities and jobs that are done by the artists and the movie creators, they ended up being the first to be disrupted. Like Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, DALL-E, right? These are the sort of things that generated these images. And now artists are struggling and trying to use law as a way to enforce their copyright and IP. There's also AI automated generated South Park episodes out there. So if you guys know South Park, there are entire episodes that are now generated from a single prompt. So just Google South Park simulation. This is, I've got 2 hours of this. It's just like running non-stop. It's be like a new Netflix series of just AI generated content. The same technology that you're seeing now is being applied in self-driving cars. So who would have thought generative AI would be relevant to help drive your car? But this is actually an end-to-end solution that Tesla's implemented in their version 12, which enables that last mile issue of the nines, right? The 0.99999 issue of where the machine has never seen that example, but because of generative AI, is able to fill in that blank. And so version 12, Elon's will no longer be beta. He's just showed that on Twitter as well. And yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think it's ready. And they're applying that same technology in now humanoid robots. So the Tesla bot from Tesla, obviously, with Optimus is coming out. But the Chinese have already beaten them to it. This is Unitree's first general purpose humanoid robot, and it goes for less than $90,000 US. This is what it looks like. Not related. That guy's got to get it coming. The apocalypse happens. It's pretty tacky marketing at the end. It's like they spent all that money on the robot, but not enough on the slides. But yeah, the technology is moving quite fast. We're being augmented as humans already. It's just that it's not that widely distributed because one, it looks horrible. This is people making fun of the Magic Leap version 1. You literally look like a spider, like with these sort of glaring eyes. The glass holes in the pubs that were getting kicked out, right? Not a cool thing. But when Apple comes out with their AR glasses, hey, that's when, Luxottica, all the fashion brands, you want that gold-plated Apple Watch. These glasses will be the, the need to have, click, right? And so Apple's Vision Pro, as you've seen, is coming out next year, probably late next year at this rate in the scarcity. Just watch a TV. Flight one's probably the most likely use case. Kind of dystopian that the kid doesn't get one, like it's just the dad having fun. But this is the first generation, so usually it gets to about generation 3. I'll skip these videos, but basically you can have these versions of AR glasses with the equivalent of ChatGPT in them. So this is called Reality GPT. And that'll get to the price point that is accessible. You don't want to see Mark Zuckerberg. All he's talking about is these new EMG devices. So it's called Control Labs. You know that picture we looked at earlier. There's a little wristband that Facebook Meta has acquired called Control Labs, and it's able to read the signals from your brain to your hands, so it can become the controller without a controller. It literally intercepts the signal from your mind, your muscles, and that becomes your new user interface. And so with that, with the AI, with the brain-computer interfaces, that's where our transhuman future is coming toward. The whole raft of EEGs and brain-computer interfaces that are invasive, like you heard earlier, like Neuralink, but it's an exploding field, and I think this is really where the future is heading as a new operating system. The Neuralink just got approved for in-human studies, so FDA approval. We've got a human augmentation lab by the Tech Central and UTS and UCID just down the road, UTS Central Station. So yeah, if you're interested in checking it out, let me know. I know I'm out of time, so maybe I'll just skip to the end around an action point. At the end of the day, we don't want an altered carbon future, which is dystopian, only the rich benefit, around these longevity things. We want to make it accessible to make sure no one's left behind. This whole universal basic income concept is going to be relevant as you see automation displaces a lot of jobs in sort of short period of time that the disruption occurs. And so this whole WorldCoin thing that's happening right now from Sam Altman, hard to trust them because he's also a billionaire, but at the same time, it's like a way to look at this from redistributing the AI and automation benefits right around the dividends. So this is also Truth GPT, people democratizing AI in these tiny boxes that you can now build so that everyone has their own personal AIs. And that way, it's kind of like the T-800 in Terminator 2. If everyone gets an Arnold Schwarzenegger to fight the T-1000, which is that's the Terminator that's like super advanced. If everyone gets an Arnold, I think we can fight this sort of super intelligence that might be misaligned in our future. Technology accelerating very fast. Need to keep up. If you want to find out more, come join us at Stone and Shaw. We're on tomorrow and every fortnight. But thank you very much.
Did anyone have any questions? Or you were just terrified about that? All right, cool. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.